You have walked into rooms that felt immediately right, and you have walked into rooms that never did, no matter how long you stayed, no matter how beautiful they were. The difference between those two experiences is not taste or mood or coincidence. It is measurable. It is the result of specific decisions that either work with how your brain processes physical space or against it. Here is exactly what those decisions are. The most fundamental principle in environmental psychology, the one that underlies almost every other explanation for why rooms feel comfortable or uncomfortable, was identified by geographer J. Appleton in 1975 and has been supported by research consistently in the decades since. Prospect and refuge theory proposes that human beings feel most comfortable in spaces that simultaneously offer two qualities. Prospect, the ability to see outward, to survey the environment, to be aware of what is approaching, and refuge, the ability to be protected from behind, to have a sheltered position from which the prospect can be enjoyed without vulnerability. This is not metaphor. It is evolutionary, the specific spatial arrangement that allowed our ancestors to monitor threats while remaining protected from them. A seat with its back to a wall and a clear view of the room's entrance. A reading corner that faces outward but is bounded on three sides. A sofa positioned to see the door without being directly in line with it. These arrangements feel comfortable not because of any design principle, but because they satisfy a neurological requirement that has been present in human beings for hundreds of thousands of years, and rooms that provide them consistently feel more comfortable than rooms that do not, regardless of how beautifully they are furnished. The effect of ceiling height on human comfort is well documented, and more specific than most people realize. Research by Joan Myers-Levy at the University of Minnesota established that ceiling height does not merely affect how spacious a room feels. It affects how people think while they are in it. High ceilings, above approximately 10 feet, promote abstract, associative thinking. People in high-ceilinged rooms are more creative, more likely to make connections between unrelated ideas, more expansive in their mental processes. Low ceilings, below approximately 8 feet, promote focused, detail-oriented thinking. People in low-ceilinged rooms are more precise, more task-focused, more attentive to specific details. Neither is intrinsically more comfortable than the other, but the mismatch between ceiling height and intended activity is a consistent source of discomfort that most people cannot articulate. A creative studio with low ceilings feels constraining not because it is small, but because the ceiling height works against the cognitive mode the activity requires. A focused workspace with very high ceilings feels distracted for the same reason. The most comfortable rooms match their ceiling height to their purpose. And when that is not possible, design interventions that create the perception of appropriate height through lighting and furniture scale can produce the same effect. The human circadian system, the biological clock that regulates sleep, wakefulness, and the hormonal cycles between them, responds to light with remarkable specificity. And the lighting conditions in most homes are working against it almost continuously. Bright overhead lighting at color temperatures above 3000 K suppresses melatonin production and maintains cortisol levels, the specific hormonal conditions of alertness and readiness rather than rest and recovery. This is appropriate during the day and in work environments. In a home at 7 in the evening, when the body is preparing for the shift towards sleep, it is the lighting equivalent of telling the nervous system that it is still noon. The lighting conditions that trigger rest are precisely defined: 2700 K or lower, positioned at or below eye level, coming from multiple sources of low intensity rather than one source of high intensity. These conditions allow melatonin production to begin, cortisol to decline, and the specific neurological shift from alertness to recovery to occur. A room lit this way feels comfortable in the evening not because it is aesthetically warm, but because it is physiologically correct. It is telling the body the truth about what time it is and what it is supposed to be doing. The neurological difference between natural and synthetic materials is not aesthetic preference. It is measurable physiological response. Research in environmental psychology consistently shows that exposure to natural materials produces measurably lower stress markers than exposure to synthetic equivalents, even when subjects cannot visually distinguish between them. The mechanism involves what researchers call biophilia, the evolved human affinity for the natural world, and operates through multiple sensory channels simultaneously. Natural wood at room temperature feels different from synthetic wood at the same temperature. Natural linen breathes differently against the skin than polyester with identical thread count. Natural stone carries a specific thermal mass that synthetic stone cannot replicate. The brain processes each of these differences below the level of conscious awareness, registering natural materials as safe, familiar, and associated with environments that sustained human life across evolutionary time. The room furnished primarily with natural materials is not more comfortable because it looks better. It is more comfortable because every surface it offers to the nervous system speaks a language the nervous system has been fluent in for hundreds of thousands of years, and that fluency produces the specific quality of ease that synthetic environments, however well designed, cannot fully replicate. One of the most consistently misunderstood principles in comfort design is the role of sensory complexity. The popular assumption, reinforced by decades of minimalist design advocacy, is that simplicity produces comfort and complexity produces stress. The research tells a more nuanced story. Human beings are not most comfortable in sensory-simple environments. They are most comfortable in environments with the specific kind of complexity that environmental psychologists call moderate sensory richness, enough visual, tactile, and acoustic variety to engage the brain's pattern recognition systems without overwhelming them. The brain in a completely uniform environment, all one color, all one material, all one texture, is understimulated, which produces its own form of discomfort, restlessness, boredom, and the specific unease of a room that feels unfinished. The most comfortable rooms offer the brain enough to find, enough textural variety, enough material contrast, enough visual layering, that it can engage in what researchers call soft fascination without being required to work hard at it. Natural wood grain beside linen beside ceramic. Pattern in one considered place. Different materials at different heights, each offering something specific to find, none demanding that it be found. This is not maximalism. It is calibrated richness. And it is the difference between a room that feels complete and one that feels like it is waiting for something. The human brain has a measurable preference for bilateral symmetry, the arrangement of elements in mirror image balance around a central axis that appears to be both evolutionary and aesthetic. Symmetrical faces are perceived as more attractive. Symmetrical spaces are perceived as more ordered, more intentional, and more comfortable. The research on this is consistent and the effect is significant. In a room, bilateral symmetry around a focal point, two lamps flanking a sofa, two bedside tables matching on either side of a bed, art centered above a mantelpiece, produces a specific quality of calm that the brain reads as resolved. The pattern is complete. Nothing is missing. The eye can rest. But pure bilateral symmetry, applied throughout an entire room without variation, produces a different discomfort, the discomfort of a space that feels institutional rather than inhabited, more like a hotel room than a home. The rooms that are most comfortable use symmetry as an anchor, one symmetrically organized focal point that resolves the room's center, and introduce deliberate asymmetry everywhere else. One lamp on one side, a plant in one corner, a stack of books on one surface only. The asymmetry says that a person lives here and has arranged things according to how they are used rather than how they look. And that quality of genuine habitation is what makes the symmetrical anchor feel warm rather than cold. Of all the factors that determine whether a room feels comfortable, acoustic quality is the one most consistently overlooked, and the one whose absence is most reliably felt without being identified. People describe acoustically poor rooms as feeling cold, hard, or somehow wrong without being able to explain why. They describe acoustically good rooms as warm, soft, and comfortable, adjectives that most people apply to visual or tactile qualities, but that their nervous systems are registering, in part, through sound. The acoustic problem in most small apartments is reverberation, the bouncing of sound between parallel hard surfaces that creates a specific quality of ambient noise that the brain cannot fully filter out. Every footstep, every spoken word, every ambient sound from outside is extended and multiplied by the reflective surfaces of uncarpeted floor, bare walls, and hard ceiling, creating a room that is, from the nervous system's perspective, noisier than it actually is. The acoustic solution is soft material, specifically, the same soft materials that contribute to visual warmth and tactile comfort. Bookshelves lined with books, which are among the most effective domestic sound diffusers available. Upholstered furniture that absorbs rather than reflects. Human beings have consistent preferences for certain spatial proportions that appear to be evolutionary rather than cultural. Preferences that show up across different societies, different historical periods, and different architectural traditions with a consistency that suggests they are hardwired rather than learned. The preference for rooms that are wider than they are tall, the specific proportion that most domestic rooms naturally take, is one of these. Research suggests this preference reflects the savanna environment in which much of human evolution occurred. Wide, open views with overhead shelter rather than confinement. Rooms that approximate this proportion, wider and longer than they are high, feel more comfortable than rooms with the same floor area but disproportionately high ceilings, which can feel exposed rather than sheltered. The preference for curved and organic forms over sharp angles is another. Neuroimaging research shows that sharp angles in the visual field activate the amygdala, the brain's threat detection center, at a low but measurable level, while curved forms do not produce this activation. Rooms with curved furniture, rounded corners, and organic forms are measurably less threatening to the nervous system than rooms of equivalent quality, furnished entirely in sharp-angled pieces. This is not aesthetics. It is neuroscience. And it explains why the round coffee table and the curved sofa feel more comfortable than their angular equivalents in ways that reason alone cannot account for. The relationship between color temperature and cortisol levels, the stress hormone whose elevation is associated with alertness, anxiety, and the inability to fully rest, is one of the most directly applicable findings in environmental psychology for domestic design. Research has established a consistent inverse relationship between warm light, lower color temperature, and cortisol levels in the evening hours. As color temperature decreases from the cool white of daylight toward the warm amber of candlelight, cortisol levels follow, declining in the specific pattern that prepares the body for rest. The precise temperature at which this decline becomes significant is approximately 2700 K, the warm amber of a tungsten-equivalent LED bulb, with further decline occurring at 2400 K and below. The practical implication is specific and immediately actionable. Every bulb in a home used in the evening hours should be 2700 K or lower. Not because it looks better, though it does, but because it is literally reducing the stress hormone in the bodies of the people living in the space. The room that feels comfortable in the evening is, in part, the room whose lighting is doing chemistry rather than just illumination, suppressing the biological signals of daytime stress and replacing them with the specific physiological conditions that allow genuine rest to begin. Across every principle explored in this video, prospect and refuge, ceiling height cognition, rest-triggering light, natural materials, sensory richness, acoustic quality, evolutionary proportion, there is one quality that every instantly comfortable room possesses and that no amount of any individual principle can substitute for. The room was designed for the person in it, not for a photograph, not for a prospective buyer, not for the imagined approval of a visitor who has not yet arrived. For the specific person who lives there, in the specific states they inhabit most frequently, doing the specific things that room is for. This quality, of a space that was made with knowledge of its inhabitant rather than with aspiration toward an imagined audience, produces a comfort that science can measure but cannot manufacture. It is felt in the positioning of the furniture that was arranged for how someone actually moves through the room, in the lighting that was calibrated for the specific hour when the room is used most, in the materials that were chosen for how they feel to the hands that touch them daily rather than to the eye that photographs them occasionally. The most comfortable rooms in the world were not designed by the best designers. They were designed by people who paid close attention to one specific life, and then made every decision in service of it.